now comes an award that I'm particularly interested in too, because I honestly believe that a strong nation is one that is open to ideas and the free flow of information. The VFW News Media Award winner. It's now my honor to introduce the recipient of the 2016 VFW News Media Award, Miss Jennifer Griffin from Fox News. This award has been presented annually since 1978 to an individual or an organization for their outstanding contributions to help America better understand its institutions and our way of life. Ms. Griffin has been a newspaper reporter in South Africa, covering Nelson Mandela's release from prison and the country's transition away from apartheid. She has also covered Middle East affairs for the National Public Radio before joining Fox News in 1999 as its Jerusalem-based correspondent. Since her arrival at the Pentagon in 2007 as the network's national security correspondent, she has helped to explain the department's challenges and concerns in terms of that Americans can understand, and from their fight against enemies abroad to their budget battles here at home. Her upfront reporting is very appreciated by America's largest and oldest major war veterans organization. And her personal battles as a breast cancer survivor has not gone unnoticed or unappreciated by many others who unfortunately share in that fight. Comrades and guests, please welcome the recipient of the 2016 Veterans of Foreign Wars News Media Award from Fox News, Miss Jennifer Griffin. This award also comes with a check for $2,500, which she is donating to the Duskin and Stevens Foundation for supporting families of fallen Special Operations soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines.
2016 News Media Award presented to Jennifer Griffin, Fox News, in special recognition and sincere appreciation of outstanding reporting as the Pentagon-based national security correspondent for Fox News, for helping America to better understand the foreign and domestic threats and challenges facing the United States, the Department of Defense, and the brave men and women in uniform who protect us, by maintaining the highest journalistic standards she keeps with the highest ideals and principles of the Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States, in witness whereof we have hereunto set our hands in the official seal of the Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States this 2nd day of March 2016, approved by the National Council of Administration, signed by John A. Bajetsky, Jr., Commander-in-Chief, John E. Hamilton, Adjutant General.
Thank you so much. And Big John, I can't tell you how touched I was when I received your note, and the honor that you've bestowed on me today really moves me. I wasn't sure I was going to be here tonight because I've been with my grandmother, my grandparents. My grandmother's in hospice, and I spent the last 2 weeks at her bedside, and I had a few minutes to think about the VFW and about all the caregivers who are out there caring for wounded warriors and veterans who have come home, not just from these last 2 wars, but also some of them caring for veterans from World War II. And what I have felt in the last 2 weeks, being by my grandmother's bedside and having to care for her around the clock with my mother and sisters, I just wanted to take a moment and to acknowledge what the VFW has done in terms of partnering with legislators like Chairman Miller in pushing forward the Caregiver Protection Act. And now I understand we're going to be pushing, the VFW is going to be pushing to extend those benefits to the caregivers prior to 9/11. And I think it's such an important thing that we remember. In fact, we have Elizabeth Dole here with us tonight, and I wanted to honor her and the caregivers that she brought with her, because Her foundation has recently decided that honoring caregivers and creating public awareness about what caregivers are sacrificing for our veterans is a very important mission. And I know that her foundation and the VFW are on the same page and will be pushing hard for this very important legislation for our caregivers. I want to give you two examples of how this partnership between the media, the nonprofit world, groups like the VFW, and Congress can really work very beautifully. We're at a time in our nation where sometimes things don't seem as though they're working very well. I can give you two really good examples of how they've worked well lately. When I started on the beat at the Pentagon, it was 2007. It was the beginning of the surge. And I started going up to Walter Reed shortly after some of the problems there were exposed by the media. And I got to know Wounded Warrior families, and I got to know some of the nonprofit groups, including the Independence Fund, which was starting to come up with, they were seeing the gaps, areas where the VA, which was overwhelmed at the time with the needs of veterans, there were areas where some of the warriors up at Walter Reed, particularly the amputees, double and triple amputees from these last two wars, were needing a kind of mechanized wheelchair known as a track chair. And these chairs are basically wheelchairs on tank treads. And they are the coolest things you've ever seen. And I got to know one of the 6 quadruple amputees from our last two wars, post 9/11, John Peck. And John Peck explained to the Independence Fund and to me why this particular wheelchair, a track chair, was going to be a game changer for him and the estimated 2,200 double and triple amputees coming out of these wars. And we saw how this chair transformed his life. He took me down to his farm in Fredericksburg. He took me outside. We're talking a quadruple amputee. Sergeant Peck took me out, and he was able to pull his vehicle with his track chair. He was able to go over bumps and get out into the forest where he loved to go hunting with his track chair. And so Fox News' Bill O'Reilly and I teamed up with the Independence Fund, and in the last 3 years, we raised from donations, from some small, some large, from Fox viewers, $25 million. And we have bought 1,300 of these track chairs and delivered them to amputees. We believe we have 800 more to go. And I was explaining to Secretary McDonnell how I really don't think that the VA even knew that this need was out there. I mean, it was almost as though, and he immediately was responsive as we were talking here tonight. That understanding about the track chairs and John Peck's situation and what the amputees needed came from a news story that I did for Fox News. I was doing a story on John Peck and this chair, and it started a snowball rolling. And I believe that it is an example of how the media, nonprofits, the VA, and Congress can work together to come up with common sense solutions to the needs of our veterans. The second thing, if you'll bear with me for one more minute, in the process of getting to know groups like the Independence Fund, there's one thing that everybody has been talking about in the last 2 years that I've been involved in this area, and that is that we all recognize the high suicide rates. We recognize that our veterans are on a cocktail of too many prescription drugs. And there's one new treatment that has been used anecdotally by a number of veterans, and it is having unbelievable anecdotal results. And it's called hyperbaric oxygen treatment. The shorthand for it is HBOT. And many of you may be familiar with it because it was used for deep sea divers to avoid getting the bends. They would use this extra oxygen to really help the person heal. It is approved by the FDA and used by the VA and approved for gangrene and for healing of wounds. But it is not approved for the treatment of traumatic brain injuries and PTSD. And what we're finding, each nonprofit group that I've spoken to, is those who have gone through these 40 dives of this intense oxygen, their wives and their family members are saying that they're noticing a complete turnaround and difference in the PTSD and the traumatic brain injury. It's not scientific at this point. We need a scientific study. There's an old Army study that has debunked it, saying that it is a placebo effect. I believe there needs to be a new study. It needs to be sponsored by legislation, by the chairman can help us with that. The VA can help us with that. But we need to know more about this HBOT treatment. I can tell you, I served in Israel as a correspondent for 7 years covering the Intifada, and the IDF uses this for their soldiers who are injured, and it's having amazing effects. We need to know more about HBOT and hyperbaric oxygen treatment, because that way we can get our veterans off of all these prescription pills, help deal with the PTSD and the traumatic brain injuries, and hopefully get everyone back to wellness. So I want to thank the VFW for this incredible honor. I accept it on behalf of Fox News. We are devoted to our veterans, and we will continue working on your behalf, and thank you very much.